Welcome, everyone. This is John T. Amisha. Today is Saturday, October 23rd. This is our Circassian class. I'm going to start off today's class with a couple of administrative notes. So I think all of you know that this is an experimental class, and what we are trying to do is take a teaching method called TPRS, which is Teaching Proficiency through Reading and Storytelling, and we're applying it to the Circassian language and our Circassian community. I think so far I've spoken to many of you personally, and a lot of you have emailed me and shared comments in the WhatsApp group. I think so far the results and the response have been very positive. I think all of you enjoy this method, enjoy this approach. And part of the reason that this method works well is we're getting you to think in this language. So instead of memorizing words or instead of just repeating, we're getting you to think in the language and build neural connections in your mind, and then connect those neural connections to the muscles that you need to pronounce these words, these questions, these phrases. Okay, so I think that's very positive. Some of you have said to me that you're in college or university and you've learned more in these classes than you have in your foreign language classes in university. I've heard a couple of you, more than 3 of you have said that. So I think that's good for TPRS. Now, it is an experimental class, and so let's talk about some of the things that we're learning. What we're learning is that TPRS as a method is amazing. It works. You guys have said that. I've experienced that as well. One of the things that's very unique about us is that we are all heritage learners. There's almost nobody in these classes who has 0 Circassian, right? There's almost nobody who has 0. Everyone knows something, even if it's just one word. Most of us know the Cyrillic alphabet. And the other big difference is that none of us are learning this language to take a test, right? In most of the other TPRS classes, most of them are taught in formal schools, public schools, universities, high schools, grammar schools. And so those students ultimately have to take a test. We want to learn this language to speak with our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, people we know, people we love. And so those are very, very different. So one of the things that I'm not super happy with is not the method, but our content, right? And I think I might have mentioned this, and some of you mentioned this to me. A lot of you feel comfortable. Okay, you feel comfortable with that. But when you go home and you talk to your parents or your grandparents and say, so what did you learn? You're like, Nart's a boy in Nalchik and he wants juice. That's not the most helpful, stuff to know. So what I've done is I've taken the method, I've taken what we've learned as a class, and I've completely rebuilt all the stuff that we've covered so far. And I've also formalized the course content. So one of the downfalls of the current TPRS content, not the method, but the content, is that it's very limited in terms of vocabulary. And I'm not sure that the content is formally aligned to standardized content standards. So I think some of you, I've mentioned this before, there is a grammatical standard out, or a fluency standard out there called the CEFR. It stands for the Common European Framework Reference, and across 30 languages, give or take, including Russian, including Turkish, not Arabic, including English and German, it has a list of vocabulary and phrases that you should know for every level of fluency. And so eventually my goal is to build a fully vetted program with standardized testing. So somebody can say, oh, I'm A1, I'm A2, I'm B1, I'm B2. And so that we don't have gaps in our knowledge. The other thing that I've noticed, and I have this myself, because you guys all know I am not a native speaker, I have gaps in my knowledge. And the reason I have gaps in my knowledge is there was never a standardized methodological approach to teach me content. So what I'm trying to do is take the TPRS method and combine it with the CEFR content. So I have all the content. I have it all in Circassian. I have it in Russian, Turkish, Arabic, English. I have it in 20 languages because I also run a language mobile app company. I think some of you know that as well. So what I did was I took the entire A1 content base. It's about 500 or 600 words and about 150 phrases. And I've turned that into this TPRS method. And so in today's class, we're going to be seeing brand new slides you've never seen before. There's going to be some new content, and we're going to give that a shot. So we're going to go fairly quick. For Lydia and for Zali, what you guys should know, the way that I've reorganized this stuff, the goal is to have 50 units, 50 chapters. Each one would cover 10 or 15 vocabulary words. And so by the end of those 50 chapters, you would have the entire A1 content set in your brain. One of the interesting things when I tried this on Wednesday is that so far, it's taken us about one class to go through 1 to 3 slides, depending on whether it's a new slide, depending on whether there's 1 sentence on the slide or 2 sentences on the slide. When I experimented with this in the Wednesday class, they loved it because we kept the method. Yeah, so Yamiz was in the Wednesday class. We kept the method, but we brought in new content. So they loved it. I want to try it here and see how you guys think about it. And part of the other reason I'm doing this is that if there's more structure. So part of the other thing that I'm trying to do is not just create a program, but create a program that someone other than me can do, right? So I think in the future, hopefully Lydia would have time and be able to do this. She's a full-time professor. Hopefully Zali would find time to do this. She's a full-time mother. You know, so it's about also broadening this out and making it easier for these materials to be used by teachers. Okay, so that covers the administrative stuff. Before we jump in, anybody have questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so let me go and share my screen. Oh, let me make sure I actually have my slides up. There we go. Whoops. Share. There we go. All right. Can everybody see my screen? All righty.
Yes, I see it.
What's that?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay. So, okay, let's go here. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Give me a second here, guys. I apologize. Ooh, that's what happened. Okay, got it. Okay, we're going to go back, share. Okay, so the first difference, let me just explain this before we jump in. I've taken all the question words that we've been using and I've added them to the top here. So instead of going all the way around, they're all at the top. I think that we've seen most of these words. There's 1 or 2 that might be new, like spatial. I think that's the only new one. The other thing is everything is dual scripted. So I provide you the real Circassian alphabet, but I provide transliteration. So this way you guys start to get a comfort level with the real alphabet. And people in my Wednesday class, they said, you know, it's weird. The alphabet is just sort of sinking in. They're starting to look more at the Cyrillic alphabet than the transliteration. So that's a good thing. At the bottom of the screen, I've also taken all of the, not all, but most of the common words that we use. Hawa, dawadiddash, hama, whoopso, whoopsawiz, pej, pejum, right? I've taken those common words and I've dropped them to the bottom. And remember, I didn't have room to put this on the slide, but we can negate anything by adding tum, right? So that's your cheat sheet. The other thing that you'll see when we jump in, I use animations so that the slide doesn't get too busy too quickly, so that we can layer information piece by piece. But when we move to the next area of the story, I take the previous sections of the story and I move them to the right-hand side of the slide and I ghost them out. So they're not dominant, but they're there. So that way, if I ask you a question on something we covered in the past, you can kind of cheat a little bit and go and look at it. Okay, so that's it. Now let's go into the fun, entertaining portion of this. Class.
Sit.
Hey, turn off mutes. Open your microphones. I can't hear you. Class.
Sit.
Mersalas. Mersalas. Salam يتصر. Osman. Arts Uzqum. Mir Osmans. Okay. Class.
Sit.
Alam sit يتصر. Wasman khajabs. Wasman sha'ala. Wasman robot. Hamas sha'ala. Wasman sha'ala. Sha'ala dab shadi'a. Sha'ala di'as. Sha'ala di'as. Sasa sha'ala. Robots. Okay, khons. Whoops. So let me see. What did I add to class? Class. Sit or sit. Jantish. Salam. Yitzar sit. Osman. Okay. Wits are sit. Okay. Class. Sit. Stool. Okay. Machabarm. Yijib in the story. Yijib stool. Shajiz. Machabarm in this story. Yijib stool. Shajiz. Sasideshcha. Chicago Yidij. Yijib stool. Shajiz. Enta. Fafideshcher. Yijib stool. Shajiz. Yijib stool. Shajizqam. Class.
Sit.
Osman Qalim Sha'as. Osman Qalim Sha'as. Osman Qalim Sha'a. Osman Qalim Sha'as. Yijib Stujash. Yijib Stub Shajiz. Dana Osman Sha'a.
عالم
خد قالم شقة.
عثمان
قالم شقاش. دنا عثمان شقة. قالم عثمان خجابز. عثمان سش. شالة دابش الدقيقة. شاليت دقيقة. زش على راش دقيقة. شاليت دقيقة. شاليش دقيقة. زش على راش دقيقة. Okay. Class. Wasman Chicago شقة. هوا. س نالشكس الشقة. هوا. سدنس الشقة.
نيوجيرسي والشقش
شيكاغو الشقة.
شيكاغو
ساندر نيوجيرسي الشقاقم.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, راسي ناخذ يا غبطة في سورة كرسلاو رقم ذا. Okay, سيقوم ذا سوري سلاو ذا.
جانتم ب واتساب جوبم زغور سقيحف نجياتي برحا
سلاو رقم ذا سكتنش. توصل تقول دوخ.
نيلجونجير
نلقون يحاش. وبسو.
تبلغ قدوخ.
عادشة ستناي براق.
تت
ودنا والشقة.
س قطش الشئش لا سشئش
دنا قطر.
قطر
آه.
شئش
قطر والشقش. أرقواج حمقالة حما قرال.
I don't
Okay, so when I say قالة, what's قالة?
قال
City.
city
Okay, so what would be smaller than a city?
village
A village. Okay, so قالة قواجة. Okay, so قواجة is village, it's smaller than a city. What would be bigger than a city?
country
A country. Okay, so قطر أر قرال حما قالة حما قواجة.
قواجة I guess
قواجة قطر قواجة.
قواجة the small one or
It's a village. قطر is a village.
the قرار
قرال. قطر
قرار
قراج. هج يمز.
ست
وهو الرباط.
انطاه
وهو الرباط.
حوا حوا ساس شعالش
وهو سيغوغات والرباط. سريس الرباط. وهو الرباط ما دزقوشت.
زكواشت ست زكواشت
We'd be brothers.
انطاه
ودنا والشقة.
دنا ايجيبت ستو نيو برونزويك سشاش
نيو برنزويك. أرقواجة حمقالة.
قالة
أرقالش. سري نيو برنزويك الشقة.
حوا وهو شيكاغو وشاش
بهج شيكاغو الشقة. ليديا.
ست جانتي
وداو وشت نوبة.
خرزناش حمو غبسو
سوج. ودنا والشقة.
قادم سشاش قادم يتصر نيو أورلينز
نيو أورلينز.
أرقواجكم
أرقواجكم. ست كود الشتات عارز الشقر.
لويزيانا
شتات.
لويزيانا
حلماتش. ماجدي. داو وشت نوبة.
I don't understand.
Dawa. How? Washit. How are you? Dawa washit.
Dawas.
Sarisa dawas. Whoopso. What dana washa'a? Wa dana washa'a.
Wadana was shit.
So I'm asking you, where are you?
California.
So to answer me, you would say sa California sa
California.
Sitquadaqala. What city?
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake. Tamam.
Northern California.
Tamam. Whoopso. Dimaza.
ست
Dana washish.
ست Kayser Sışış.
Kaiser وشش. Dana وقش الخوا.
Se aydınım sık düşel var.
Aydın وقش الخواش. داو وشت نوبة.
Sı davos.
ودغش. وويديشتا كايسريم يجبستو بشجج.
Hava pişeciş aydınım şiş.
Hava. Yijibstu, ويديشتا by you. Yijibstu right now. ويديشتا بشجج. Is it morning?
Pişeciş jeş.
Arashi وجبان خوير. Hawa. Yijibstu بشججكم.
Hava.
No, it's not morning. Yijibstu jesh.
Hava niciptu pişeciştim pişeciş pardon niciptu jeş.
Jesh. So, tamam. Da, sorry زغسو. Da غددا. Lalina.
Sit.
Die شبقتك. Die شبقدشة. Da وشت.
تسي خرجناش.
خرزنش. دنا وشقة.
ساسي كال سشاش.
نعرف قال وشقش. وويديشة.
هوا
دنا.
نالتك سشاش.
نالتك وشقش. نالتك وشقش. خونش. وويديشة يجبستو بشجج.
هوا يجبسو بشجشكم يجبسو جاش.
يجبستو جاش. ويديشة يجبستو شقة. ويديشة شقة. انت شقش. It's cold. It's cold. براق. دنا والشقة.
قيصر سشأش.
قيصر والشقش. صد دنس الشقة.
شيكاغو بوشأش.
شيكاغو سشقش. وسمان. دنا وسمان شقة.
عثمان قالم شأش.
قالم شقش. ست خود قالة. أرقم. We don't know. أرقم. أرقم. Anybody who speaks Abazakh, Amani, Tsarab. Right? Tsarab. Adi Abdrei Bzatcha. Tsarqum. Zali.
Sit.
Dawo shit.
فضد شو بسو.
فضد.
وشت.
جصف أنا كم صفد ده وسخنص. دنا والشقة.
تشوتنم شاش.
ست خود قرال
مر إنجليز قرالش.
إنجليز قرالش.
إنجليز قرالش.
تمام. غشاغنش. Interesting. غشاغنش.
تشوتنم واجقم.
قال تق. راشي قالش خوقم.
حوا
تقش.
انت قال تقش.
أزقرؤاش. I understand. أزقرؤاش.
نلشش نخرة نختقش.
نختقش نالشكم نخرة. خلص. حمزة.
ست.
دنا زالين الشقة.
زالينا قرال شاش.
ست خود قرال.
قال شاش.
قال شاش. ست خود قرال. ست خود قرال.
قرال إنجليز بجا. قرال.
إنجليز
قرال.
ودنا والشقة. ودنا والشقة.
سا رياض قالر سشاش.
رياض. Sitkwada Qaral, Riyadh is the Sha'ar.
Ar Saudi Arabia قرال قرالش
Saudi Arabia Qaral Sha'ash.
قرالش
What? Dana Shish.
سا يردانيوم سشش
ويردانيوم وشش. Dana وقب وقش الخوا.
بج عمان سقش خوار
عمان وقش الخواش. وقب وقش الخوا.
بج عمان سقش خوار
حلمتش. Albert.
ست جانتي
داوشت.
سدوس so
Noba وهليكوبتر دنا شقة.
نورك مشقش
نوبا وهليكوبتر نورك شقاش. يجبستو ودنا والشقة.
سوينا مشقش
ويونا
جازي مشقش
ست كودا قالة يا قواجة ويونا مزد الشقر.
دي مدقات تاون دي قالة توكس
قالة توكس. ست كودا قالة. سجسمة. If I say sit كودا قالة, what I'm really saying is what city. So I'm asking the name of the city.
قالن يتصل بايرن تاونشيب.
Biden Township. Biden. Presidentum خدو.
هو بايرن.
Byron. Fons. Siguapas. Dina Ansoqa.
Sit.
Taushit.
Dawas. Fupso.
What dana wishes?
Sa Spain. Sishash.
Spain was what's a lunch? Sit kwada qala.
Cynthia.
Bzithentia. Fancy schmancy. Khunsta. Dana wishish. Where are you from?
Sa Yardanim. Sashish.
Jordanum wishish. Dana waqash al-khwa. Where were you born?
Yardanim.
Jordanium. Sit kwada qala waqash al-khwa.
And how is the city?
In what city? So let me time out. So I think let me address something. Sit khwada, it means what kind of. It means what kind of. Now I think in the diaspora, we often use when we in a lot of diaspora, we don't say dawshit, we say situ khwada. Right? We say situ khwada. And that's fine. That's perfectly normal. That's acceptable. It's grammatically correct. But I think some of you are confusing situ khwada, like how are you, with what kind. So when I ask a few of you, sit khwada qala was the sha'r. In what city are you right now? You're thinking I'm asking you, what kind of city are you in? Because we grew up saying, situ khwada, how are you? So you can still say situ khwada, that's fine, that's grammatically correct. But whenever you hear sit khwada qala, sit khwada s'ala, sit khwada qaral, sit khwada shatitja, what I'm asking is what kind? So I'm asking you to describe something, the name, the location. I'm not asking about the condition. I'm not saying is it a nice city or a big city? I'm saying what city is it? Okay? So when I say sit khwada qala, what I'm asking is sit khwada qala waqash al-khwar, I'm asking in what city were you born?
Amman.
Amman.
Amman.
Ar. Okay, so we're going to use a new word. I'm going to say something. This is for everybody, and I want you to try. Anybody who can guess what I'm asking, just say it. Okay? Amman يردانم يقالاشها يقالاشها قالاشها
Capital.
يردانم
قلاش.
يقالاشها.
Capital.
Is Amman the capital?
Ah, yes, قالاشها. Okay, so what does قالة mean?
City.
City. Okay. How do we say this? What is this in Circassian?
Ah.
Ha. Ha. Ha is the top of my body, right? It's the highest point in my body, right? So to say capital, we say Qalashha, the head city. The head city. And this makes sense. Think about it. We would say, who is the head of this company? Who is the head of this organization, right? We use this to mean the most important, the leader, right? So we use this in Circassian too. Alashha, capital, capital. Okay. Aberdino Baqaria, Sitya Alashha. Now shit pez. Okay. دلع ويتسر ست سقاش تلحة حمرة دلعة تلحة سيقوابش ودنا والشقة
مدغشقر سشياش
مدغشقر والشقاش سوش مدغشقر ونوبا فيمبوكر بشوا
ست وينبوكر
فيمبوكر اوكي زمي جماعة اوكي وابصر ست بزو مثلاتو بزو is bird. Okay, so there's a bird that lives in Madagascar that does not fly. It's black and white.
Penguin.
Okay. What? Noba vimpu klawa. How? Mr. Vimpucher Madagascar Sha'a. Sha'aqam. Awawa Madagascar was Sha'a.
Egypt, Madagascar, Sishash. Se Kayseri Shiash.
Wa Kayseri was Sha'ash. Egypt wa Madagascar was Sha'ash. What then was Shish?
Se Kayseri Wushish.
That's Guash. What a be? What shall Hua? Were you born there?
Hava. Se İzmir Huşehvar.
What is near Wakashalhuash?
Yeah.
Rasawans. Interesting. Rasawans. Nilgundi Shubh. One Noba Universiteit Musha'a.
Hawa. Today is holiday.
No, okay, Hans, would where? Noba. Zarapsuchos.
Again, please.
Noba.
Zarapsuchos.
Okay, so you say holiday. Holiday in English has two meanings. Holiday can mean like it's a celebration day, or it can mean it's a resting day.
Weekend.
So it's a weekend. Okay, so I think today is Saturday. It's a weekend. So to relax in a digabza, we say zarapsau. You know this word, yeah? Okay.
I know.
And then there's a suffix in Circassian we add to any noun or verb, and it means it's the time of, and it's roi. Okay, so to say weekend, we say zarapsau roi.
Zarapsau roi.
Zarapsau roi. So when my kids go to sleep, when my kids go to sleep, I say it's time to go to sleep. What I say, what the zos. Washin is lay down.
Sleep.
وحزقة is sleeping time.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
نوبة زقبصة خوقص.
Nobe, zgapsa, uvash.
Arashi, therefore,
Arashi.
Universiteiten مشاقم نوبة.
Arashi, Universitetin, Shiakum.
تمام. Sorry زقصو. ده وددس. أماني.
Ba,
ده أنا والشقة.
sa Egyptu Abu Dhabi Shishaas.
أوه أبي دبي والشقاش. أبو دبي الشقة. شقة.
Egyptu Hawa Abu Dhabi Egyptu Radha.
غاد خوابش. أوه خوابش.
Hawa Egyptu it's okay. Radha.
Okay. So if you want to say it's okay, the way I would say this, I don't know how Lydia or Zali would say this. I would say Noba uzrakwach makosh. Typical day, nice day, average day.
Noba uzrakwach makosh.
Uzrakwach makosh.
Uzrakwach makosh.
Hadi.
Sit.
Taushit.
Sikharzinas. West Hoda.
Sorry, Sikharzinas. Sasothao. Wa Egypto. Sasothao. Wa Egypto. Hashawi ash.
Da. Sinanu.
We nanutzuk. Daka we nanutzuk.
Upso.
Sita biyitzar.
Nesreno Mersh.
Nesreno Mersh. Sit tamamu slawarqam. Arsh'ala. Hamakh jabs.
Jalish.
Sitush ala daka. Sitush ala daka. So, when we see in Circassian, I think everyone does this. I don't think it's just Middle Eastern or Turkish Adiga who do this. I don't know. I'll ask Zali and Lydia in a minute. When we see a beautiful baby, we say, Situ sabidaka, situ nanudaka. And then immediately we say, tfi, tfi, tfi eyiz. Okay, we say, what a beautiful baby. And then immediately we say, what ugly, ugly, ugly baby. And we say this so that nobody puts the evil eye. Nobody becomes jealous of the baby. Do you guys do this in Homeland too?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, people tend to do that. But also, I remember my grandmother, she always used to say, Huah. She always used to say, you know, Tamna supervise and all those, you know, just a toast, yeah, toast.
Yeah.
So
Good wishes as well.
Yeah. And I think also in Homeland we say Hamsa bidakwish, right?
When the baby is born, usually.
Yeah, when the baby is born. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, may God make your baby's little soul tough. Okay. Okay. Class. Jera. Class. Noba. Sha'ash. Noba sha'ash. Noba sha'ash. Okay. So I'm going to take a moment here. In the last slide, whoops. In the last slide, we have a verb that means that is sha'a. Sha'a, to be someplace. Sha'a. Here, we have a different word. It's an adjective, and it's sa'a. Sa'a. Okay, so I'm sorry I'm getting so close to the microphone. I want you to just listen very carefully to the differences between these two words so there's no confusion. Okay, so first, I'm going to say 2 times to be someplace. Then I'm going to say 2 times cold. All right. And I want you to be honest with yourself if you can hear the difference between these 2 sounds. Okay. So first I'm going to say to be someplace. Sh'a. Sh'a. One more time. Sh'a. Now I'm going to say cold. Sh'a. Sh'a. Okay. So the first one is sh'a. The second one is sh'a. Sh'a. Can you guys hear that? You can hear it? Okay, good. Okay. So class.
Sit.
Sit.
Soba sh'ash. Ooh. Okay. Class.
Sit.
Wasman psychotha.
Ooh.
Oh, psychotha. Who knows what psychotha means all by itself?
He's gonna die for water.
Dying of water, dying for water. That's right. So to say, this is how dramatic Circassians are. We don't say, I want water. We don't say, I'm thirsty. We say, I'm dying for water. Oh. Right? So I'm gonna, Zali, I'm gonna give you a chance to take the reins for a moment. But before I do, I want to just introduce, there's a different table. Did it appear? Yeah, okay, it's here. So when I was preparing this slide, I thought to myself, I can say, I can say, I am thirsty. And I can say, if my son wants water and my wife asks me, what does he want? I can say, he is thirsty. But it would be strange if I said to you, you are thirsty, because I don't know what's in your head. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what you want. So I would ask you if you are thirsty. So there's a little complexity here, but I thought it was okay to do it. So to ask you if you are thirsty, I would say, okay. So we're going to mix things around a little bit. And I'm going to spend before I give it to Zali, I'm just going to spend 1 more minute on this because this came up in the Wednesday class. So in Circassian, there are 3 L's. Okay. And sometimes people have problems with this. One of these L's only exists in our language and in Irish. And a linguist from Montreal told me some indigenous language somewhere in South America. So there's 3 languages on the planet. So we have 3 L's, and I'm going to make sure you guys know how to make these L's right now. So first, there's the American L. Technically, this is not really a Circassian L, but I'm not going to confuse you guys because Homelanders don't use this word. They don't use this, but that's a side story. So the way that we have this traditional American L, look at my mouth, L. What I do, if these are my teeth, this is my tongue. And some people make the L by putting their teeth at the back of they put their tongue at the back of their teeth, or you can put it right on the bottom, L, right? So I can say L, or I can say L, right? But I'm putting my tongue here or at the bottom. Now, this is not the L we're using yet. So that's the standard L. Now we're going to make it a little harder. It's a little bit harder. It's not the L that's on this page, but it's a little bit harder. And the way we make this is I'm actually going to stick my tongue out in front of my teeth. You see it? And it's flat. Okay. I'm exaggerating. Now, native speakers, the way you make the American L, you are vibrating sound inside of your mouth. Ooh, you're vibrating. The way that we make this next L sound, what we're doing is we're taking air. So again, this is my tongue. We're taking air and we are pushing the air over the top of the tongue. So the roof of my mouth is here. We're pushing air over the top of the tongue. Now, native speakers like Lydia and Zali, they will often push the air on both sides. I'm not a native speaker, so I tend to push the air on one side. It's fine either way. If you can do both sides, that's fine. If you do one side, that's fine too. But this sound is, okay? So you're pushing the air out, okay? So that's the harder L. Now that we've learned the harder L, we're going to go to the L that's on this page. And what we do is we take that last L that we just did and we make it explosive. And the way that we make it explosive is it's the same exact tongue and tooth shape, but instead of saying, I say, it's explosive, okay? And there's an example of this in English, okay? This is an explosive sound. Think of how you say the letter B, boy, boy, boy. Now, how do we say the letter P? It's the same exact movement, but we make it more explosive. Boy, papa. It's more explosive. It's the same thing here. So the standard L, we all know how to make the standard L. Ooh. So how do we make the harder L? We put our tongue on the bottom of our teeth. Maybe it's sticking out a little bit, and we say, right? And then to say, we just make it more explosive. Okay. All right. Let's play with this slide. I'm going to give it to Zali. Zali, you can use any of the previous material. Everybody can see on the upper right-hand slide, we've got some cheat sheets there. And remember what we do are, first we do circling, yes or no, either or the question words at the top. We're just looking for one-word answers. Then we do triangling, where you can ask the same questions, but we're looking for full sentence answers. Let's start with the simple one-word questions, and you can go around.
Will you change slides, or
do you want me
to? I don't have this one. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you don't have this slide?
No, because in Drive I didn't find. I just realized that.
I'll drop this slide into the.
Oh, sorry. Maybe you send it in email.
It's in the email, but let me.
Probably. Okay.
Hang on.
Is it this?
I mean, you can just use this slide right now. There's no need to change anything.
Okay, Mr. Class.
Sit.
Sujeira.
Hawa.
Então, nós quadros at class.
Sit.
No basas. Class.
Sit.
No basa.
No
Class.
Sit.
No bakwab.
Hawa.
No bakwab. Hama khwab. Class. Wasman psychota. Asman psychota. Wasman psychota. Hat psychotlar.
Osman.
Sorry, it should be yes, no. Wasman psychotlar.
Olsa.
Osman şam yisra.
Ba.
Da.
Yes, no, sorry. I have to think straight away about
Osman Dawashit.
Osman Dawshit.
Osman.
Osman Şaş.
Osman şam yes.
Osman şam yes.
Osman şam yes.
Ooh.
Osman şam yisra.
Ba.
Osman
şam yes. Talha wa şam wisra.
Hawa.
Hawa.
Se. Se juam yih.
Sistem.
Yihkum.
Подида. Сатани. Wa wuhwaba.
حوا س هو بقم
Şam wisra.
حوا
Hawa system.
تمام تمام
Hamza.
Sit.
No basha.
No بشأش.
بدأ Lida no basha fide.
Hawa, New Orleans, Noba, Fabas. Saakum, Fabas.
Lalina nashich no basha.
And Ita Noba Nanshich Ash.
Ash. Dina. Noba fide sha.
Inta Shash.
Ash. Burak. Remarkable for.
Very good.
Noba sha.
Noba. Pşedcizim. Kuabeş. Jeşim. Şaş.
Shush, that what did that? Nilgun. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your names not right. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Noba shu'a.
Nobe Shakum, Nobe Quabet.
Quabash. Tamam.
Quabash. I was trying to say Marquem.
Marquem.
Quabet. Awe Egyptstu Shash.
Shu'ash. What did that?
So
Yamiz.
Sit.
Dawshet.
Kharzinash wara dawshet.
What did that? Shupso. Egyptstu pshajij. Fide.
Anta. Egyptstu pshajij.
Shu'a. Pshajijim.
Shu'a.
Shu'a. Shu'a.
Oh, shu'a. Hawa.
Shu'aqim. Hawa. Shu'aqim.
Sorry. Sit.
Shu'a. Fidej.
Oh, pshajij. Shu'a. Anta. Nova shu'ash.
Shu'ash. Fadda. Bikhanra Timirkhanra. Dawshit.
да, заново Dawshit.
So, Fadana Fisha.
Then Midson the Shash.
Fadda. Nemtsam Sha'a.
How?
Egyptu Sha'a. No Basha'a.
Hawa.
Hawa Sha'a. So, Dimaza. Dana Sha'a.
Se aydınım şıas.
Şı'aş. Fadda. Aydınım Sha'a.
Hava aydınım şıakım.
شقم فددا دا وددا خد تجري أماني
أنت
فخوز guapo داشت
دو
فدي نوبة شقة
تدي نباش أقم
شقم فدي خوابة
حوا
خوابة
تدي خوابة نو
خوابة
حوا
حوا
حوا خوابة
Albert Albert دزيخو برا فددا Кади. Так, псоми фица слав, ми сгорка с ганама, фижавов муж, аче долго, и джири, зачасту.
Want to go to the next page?
Can we, what about support? We didn't practice that one. Support, what support?
Так, класс.
Sit.
Асман психотла. Класс.
Sit.
Са психотла. Са психотлара. Осман психотлара.
Osman
Зерин.
Oh, if their cameras are off, we don't call on them. That's the rule.
Подда. Так, Рамзи.
Sit.
Рамзи психотлара.
Пеж пси схотла.
Схотла. Схотла.
Схотла.
Схотла.
Схотла.
Схотла.
Схотла. I have an
Yes,
I think my tongue is too American to say that.
No worries,
such
we
thing.
training, we practice.
Yeah.
No such thing.
Sit.
Sit. Kla. Hotla.
Repeat after me.
All right, let me try something real quick if I can.
Yes, sure.
So when we get caught up on pronunciation, well,
Okay.
first of all, TPRS, there's no answer for pronunciation. It wasn't designed to do pronunciation. So we're in a gray area here. So what I try to do, what I found is helpful, is to use a method called back chaining. For some reason, when we go forward, we get screwed up, but when we go backward, it helps. So we're going to back
That's
chain.
what I tried because last time you did it.
So everyone, you can repeat, okay? Sh. Okay. To die. Sh. Okay. Now listen. Ho. Okay, everyone's got it. Okay. How do we say water?
Yes.
So when you want a cat to come to you, what do you say? Right? So water is ps. All right, I think everyone has water, right? Psi is good, right? So we got the first part. Okay. If you can say psi, you can say si, right? Si, like to sit down, si. Okay. Ah, Ramsey just said it.
Yeah.
Ah, come on. Okay, back to you, Zali.
Okay. Right. Class. Gentil psychotla.
No, Hawa.
If you are drinking, that means you are thirsty.
No, I'm not thirsty because I drink.
You're drinking, that means you are thirsty.
Gentil
Gentil psychotla. Wasn't the question, okay. Right. Class. Tap psychotlara. Wasman psychotlara. Arshadja. Psychotlara. What psychotlara?
Psychotla.
Hawa. This Kabagan strong.
Oh, I just realized I messed up the page. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Lalina.
Sit.
What psychotlara?
أنت ستخش.
Nilgun. Lalina psychotlara.
Lalina psychotla.
What psychotlara? What psychotlara?
Seri psychotla.
Psychotlara.
Wari psychotla. Hawa وبسوخوشكم.
فدي شو بساو ستناي
إيه
سبسس خواتلرا
هوا وبسخ خواتلكم
خواتلكم نيلغون بسخواتلرا عرب بسخواتلرا
نطا عرب بسخ
حمزة ستنيخ جبس حمرة صعدة
ستنيخ جبس
بددا ستنيخ بسخواتلرا
حوا ستني بسخوشرقم
واسمان بسخواتلرا
بج عثمان بسخوشة خوشة
وشا وبسخواتلرا
سرا سا بسخوشة
فددش وبسو مجدي يرى مجدي راوشت مجدي sorry if pronouncing it not correct.
Oh, Majdi, it's good.
Majdi. Daoshut?
No.
Not on the page.
وخوصفرة. س وخوصفرة. Are you thirsty?
No. Hawa. Hawa. Hawa.
Hawa.
Hawa.
س خوصفرة. Hawa.
Hawa.
س خوصفرة. خوصفرة.
Let me jump in for a minute. Majdi, do you see the content on the slide that we're using? Do you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so we try to set up the slides so that there's as much information on it as possible. So if you were to say, I am thirsty, it's this statement here. If you don't read Cyrillic, then we try to transliterate it here, right? So she's asking you here, are you thirsty? And so to answer, you would say, if you are thirsty. And if that's a little bit too much, you could just say hawa. You could say no. You could say right? So that's how the slides are structured. In case it was a little confusing or you were a little lost, I just wanted to point out to you.
Thank you. I had an idea, but it's just trying to keep up. Yeah, it's,
So here's another interesting thing we'll do. Let me do this, then we'll go on to the next page, and I'll take it back if that's okay, Zali.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So this is I'm still learning TPRS too. So what I want everybody to do, okay, use your real hand, not the little emoticon hand, on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is I understand everything. I don't even need the slide to understand what's going on. That's a 5, right? 4 is I understand everything, but I need the slide for a little bit of a reminder to just kind of help me out. 3 is I need the slide to follow everything. 2 is I'm having a hard time and the slide helps. And 1 is I'm lost, nothing's helping me. So on a scale of 1 to 5, put up your hand and show me where you are. Okay, I see 3, I see 2, I see 2, okay, I see 4, okay. Okay, I see lots of 4s, but I see a couple 2s. Okay, so Nilgun, you're having a hard time following the information even with everything on the slide?
Because the letters are so small.
Because the letters are small. Okay. And Majdi, you're also having a hard time. Is it because the letters are small or for something else?
No, just the format. I wasn't familiar with that. You can go back and forth, and then the words on the top and the words on the bottom, you can use those to,
Got it.
So now I'm getting more of an idea how format works now that you have laid out here. So
okay.
On the bottom, maybe we should explain that this is a conjugation, how you conjugate in different persons, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out of presentation mode because hang on a second. There we go. So presentation mode is, can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so presentation mode is good because I can use animations to layer the content in, but it's bad because the moment I hit a button, it advances the slide. So let me make sure everybody understands how these slides are structured, okay? So let me go to the end of the story. So this is the end of the story. So there's information here we haven't covered. I'll go, you know what, it's too much. So we're almost at the end of the story. At the top of the slide, these are all of your basic question words, right? So who, what, where, when, why, how, and how many, okay? And I'll pronounce them for you. Chet, sit, dana, sitshora, sitchacha, dawa, dapsha, okay? So these are typically questions that the teachers will ask you so that we can engage you in this story. Now, the whole purpose of TPRS is very simple. If you understand, in a lot of other teaching methods, you'll hear something and you don't know what is being said and you don't know how to answer. With TPRS, Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling, we're giving you a story and we're explaining the story. There should be no doubt that we've got this little guy named Osman, right? He's a boy, he's in a city, it's the morning, it's cold, and he's thirsty. And on this slide, we're telling you he wants tea, but he does not have tea, right? So that's the story. There should be zero doubt about the story. So by removing any doubts about the story, we can focus on speaking the language. We've taken comprehension out of the equation, and now we can focus on speaking, okay? So these questions at the top are questions that we would use at any point in time to get you thinking about the story. And we can jump around. So at this point in the story, we have not yet given you these statements, wasman shay huish or wasman shay yaqam, right? But we can jump around in the story because we keep a running tab of all the statements we've made so far. And maybe it's a little bit small, you know, we can work on the styling and the formatting of it. But at any given point in time, any of the teachers can say, Khat shay huir, wasman, sit wasman huir, shay. Dana wasman is the sha'ar qalam. Sit shua, shajij. We didn't give you enough information yet to say why, right? We haven't given you enough information to say how, but we have given you information. Right? So these are the questions that we use to engage you. At the bottom, these are very simple one-word responses that you can always give. Okay, so with TPRS, we always start off by asking you very simple questions. So this is a process called circling. With circling, we ask the whole class, okay, and we want the class to answer in unison, yes or no. And again, we can jump around anywhere in the story. Wasman alim sha'a, wasman qawaz sha'a, hawa, wasman khajabs, hawa, wasman shala. So we can jump around the story, and you have all this information here, and we can if we say khat shala wasman shalas, sit wasman shalas, right? So we can ask you yes or no questions. We can ask you or questions, right? Wasman shala hama khajabs, wasman qala sha'a hama qaza sha'a, right? So we can ask you these either or questions, or we can ask you any of these what questions, right? If we want to compliment you on doing a good job, we can say dawadiddash. If we want to thank you or you want to thank us, you can say wipso. Your welcome is wipsawij. If we want to tell you that something is correct or factually true, pej. Or if you want to tell me or any of the other teachers something is not factually true, pej. Right? And if something is incorrect or not factually true, we would say pejqam, pejqam. And we also, by having this here, we let you know that you can negate something by adding pum to the end of it. So that's what the top and the bottom do. What we do here is we give you, and some of you who have been in other classes, you're seeing that we're introducing more useful phrases, more useful content here. So we're saying a statement, Wasman she huish. He wants tea, right? And then what we do here, for just I or you singular, or he, she, it, all right? We don't get into you plural, we don't get into they, we don't get into we or us. Just for I, so these are the singular pronouns. I, you singular, he, she, it. In Circassian, there's only one pronoun for he, she, or it. It's like Turkish. In Turkish, it's o, and in Circassian, it's ar. Okay, ar is he, ar is she, ar is it. It's always ar. You, singular, is wa. And I, or me, is sa. So here we say, Wasman she hues. Now we're talking about a third person. So we could also say, Ar she hues. Same thing here. And we provide a transliteration as well as the proper spelling. And if I say you want tea, wa hues. Now I would say, what hues you want? What do you want? You want tea. Wa she hues. Right? And if I say I want tea, sa she hues. Now down here, we say wasman she yaqam. Okay, yaqam. So what we do here is, and I'm showing you the qim is the negation. All right, so if qim is the negation, what do you think it would, how do you think I would say he has tea?
Yes.
Yes, correct, yes, right? But here, yaqam. So if I say I don't have, sa siaqam. Wa wiaqam. Ab yaqam. And what I've tried to do here is I highlight the not in red, and I show you here the not is in red, right? So that qim means he does not have. And then what we're trying to do with all these questions, these the circling questions, which are for the whole class, they're typically one-word answers, but we invite, you can use more than one word if you want. They're yes or no, they're either or they're the what questions at the top, the W, we call them in English, W questions at the top. We want the whole class in unison to build confidence and together feel like, hey, I know what's going on. Then what we do, we have a process called triangling. And in triangling, we take many of those same questions, but we ask them in a slightly different way. And we ask individual students to give us a richer answer. And the reason we do that is now we're trying to get you to think in this language. And what we want, we don't want you to get lost, but we don't want you to just read what's on the page. So sometimes we'll give you a simpler, and again, it's something a teacher does. If somebody's a little bit more advanced, we might ask them things that are not even on the page. If somebody's working hard to keep up, we might ask them a question they can just read off the page. And if someone is somewhere in the middle, we might ask them a question that the explicit answer is not on the page, but they can use the content on the page to construct a grammatically correct answer. Right? That's basically how this whole method works. And that is why TPRS works so well. There's no homework required. We don't ask anybody to do drills. We're not asking anybody to go home and write a sentence or a word 10 times. What we're saying is, hey, it's okay. Just 2 more minutes. What we're asking is for people to build that neural connections in their brain and to spit things out. And that's why many of you, most of you, when you come, even though it's just one class, you come from one class to the next, weirdly, surprisingly, this information all sits in your head. It's alive in your head because you're not learning. Learning is the process of memorizing factual information. You learn a person's phone number by memorizing it. You are acquiring this information. That is a subconscious process. It's like acquiring the ability to ride a bicycle. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle, there's some mental wiring in your brain that takes place that gets you balance and coordination. And once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you cannot forget how to ride a bicycle. It is impossible because you've wired your brain a certain way. That's how this method works. Was that helpful to people?
Yes.
Okay. We have 5 minutes remaining. So let me kind of close out. So this is a revamp of our content. What I've done here is it's similar to what we've seen in the past, except for the fact that the words that we're using are in alignment with the CEFR vocabulary list, so that when you go through all 50 of these lessons, if we had an A1 test, and that's something that we hope to construct, we could give you a standardized test and we could say you are A1, right? And standardization, I'm not a big fan of standardized tests, but as we get more Circassians speaking, we need to identify gaps and holes, right? I have gaps in my speech. I'm sure everyone here speaks, but you've all got some gaps. So by having standardized testing, we can determine, is it grammar? Is it vocabulary? Is it verbs? Is it adjectives? We can figure that stuff out. What we didn't cover is this slide here. Let me get rid of this, hang on. This slide here. So we got most of the way through it. So Osman wants tea, he doesn't have tea. Osman goes to a restaurant, and I did this I wrote all these slides in a couple of hours. So this is a typo here. He takes tea. Qishta is what this should be. So I'll fix that. And then what we do in the story, so we told you the story. Osman, he's a boy, he's in a city, it's cold, he's thirsty, he wants tea, he doesn't have tea, he goes to a restaurant and he takes a tea. And again, there's an error, I have to fix the error on the slide. So he takes the tea, and then there's a dialogue where we're giving you high frequency phrases, right? So good morning, and then a phrase here, I don't understand. So now if we go through this whole chapter, you would have had exposure to all these high frequency words that are part of the A1 CEFR vocabulary set. But when you go and a parent or a grandparent or an uncle or an aunt asks you, so what are you learning in that Circassian class? You can say, they'll say something to you and you can say, I don't understand. Or if you're having breakfast, we all drink tea, that's part of our culture, right? Or they can say, do you have cheese? So we're bringing the content more into alignment with standardized teaching. Yes, Nilgun.
Sorry, a question. How can I say I understand you? And that part is the most important, most difficult part for me, I think. To add the personal things. I mean,
the personal. Well, that's why we have those little tables, so you can see. So what Nilgun is talking about is in Circassian we add to almost every verb. Well, to every verb we add a prefix that shows who is saying the action and who is receiving the action. And so, but again, by practicing in this class, you'll figure it out. And we give it to you on the page.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hamza, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. I have two small questions. Shkapa and Yajapa, is the ba at the end usually to describe a place, or it's not common?
No, it's very common. So you can make, so we can construct, one of the amazing things about Circassian is we can construct brand new words very easily. It's a little bit like Turkish and a little bit like German. We can make up new words. So when you add a to the end of anything, it means place of. Okay, so Yajan is to study. Yajapa is a place of study. It is a school. Lajan is to work. Lajapa is a place of working. It's your workplace.
Yeah. Second question. Can you break qizguru'a? I mean, the main piece of
I can do that for you. I don't have a Cyrillic keyboard on my notebook, so either Zali or Lydia, if you can type this in the chat in Cyrillic, but I'll tell you. So let me break it for you. Gu is heart. Gu is heart. Okay. Gu, gur, gure, when. When means to go into. When means to go into. Gure, when. Gure, when. To go into your heart. Qiz, qiz, in my direction. In my direction. Qiz, gure, when. I understand. It has come into my heart. I understand. When is, well, I didn't conjugate it. That's the infinitive form. I to understand. Now I have to say, I understand right now. So I've got to conjugate it for the present tense. قزقروة. قزقروة. I understand. And then if I don't understand, قزقروأكم.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Talha?
What does it mean, shay wafara? Sometimes I heard that. Shay wafara.
Shaya wafaya. Yeah. So that's abazach. That's abazach. So in Kabardian, so we're studying Kabardian dialect in this class. So I would say she wuhwe. The other dialect, super simple. They soften some words and they harden other words. So she becomes shaya, shaya. And instead of saying wuhwe, they say wufaya. Shaya wufaya. Shaya wufaya. My cousins in Syria are all Abazak speakers, and my one of my cousins, her name was Raya. Her name is still Raya. When she was really little, she loved eating cheese, so we say Khaya wafaya Raya. Ziwar, you have a question?
So
is Ziwar, do you have a question? Ziwar Ghash?
I'm sorry, I wasn't muted. I think also there's something like shy wafara. I think that was what Talha was asking, maybe.
Yeah, shay wafara. Are you drinking tea? Shay wafara. Shay wafano, will you drink tea? But right now, let's say you see me drinking something and you don't know what's in my cup, and you say shay wafara. Are you drinking tea right now?
Also in Turkey, they use it so much more often, like "Wish I wafara," like "Would you like to drink tea now?"
Yeah.
Is that my asking? Yeah, that's
Well, let me. I think Hamza may have a question. Let me tell you guys a funny story, real quick. Funny joke, funny story. I saw some internet meme, and it says, and I said this because I don't know if you guys know this. I speak Russian as well. Not great, but not terrible. So I said I saw this YouTube video or joke or something, and this guy, he goes and he studies, let's say Russian. He studies Russian. He finished textbook number 1, textbook number 2, textbook number 3. He says, I am a perfect speaker of Russian. He goes to Russia and he goes to speak to some people, and he comes back to his friends, and his friend says, so did you speak Russian? He goes, I spoke Russian, but I don't know what they're speaking. And then his friend says, maybe they don't use the same textbook as you. So what we're learning here is very clean, perfect, simple language. When I mean, sometimes I talk to my relatives who live in the village, and some of them, sometimes they drink a little bit. You know, I'm not, whatever, that's their choice. Hey, John, you know, I'm like, what's this guy saying? So sometimes with accent or with street language, like, you know, if you were to say, you drinking tea? I'm an American, right? You drinking tea? Is that one word or 3 words? You drinking tea? It's hard to make out because I'm mixing so many syllables and I'm blending words and I'm not speaking grammatically correct, because in the street, in everyday speech, very few people speak perfectly grammatically correct, pronouncing every sound, right? Hamza, do you still have a question?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
So.
All right. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Okay. Did you guys like this different content?
Very much.
Yeah.
A little bit help, a little bit more useful, right?
Yes. Thank you very much, John T.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Great.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.
Janti, can you hang out for a second and Zalim maybe?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording though.